My name's Toni Shelbourne and I'm the author of The Truth About Wolves and Dogs. I've had a long career working with dogs and wolves and wrote the book to dispel the myths surrounding dog training. Career working with dogs and wolves, and it was while I was observing the wolves that I really started to question those old tales of why we feel we need to be the alpha. I noticed contradictions like subordinate wolves approaching objects first, initiating play sessions and eating alongside wolves, or even getting more than the so-called dominant individuals. In the 10 years I worked with captive wolves, I had access to the world's top wolf biologists. I was also privy to their research. Coupled with the work I do with dogs, I just knew I had to open a debate about how we train and manage our companion animals. So in the 30s and 40s, Rudolph Schenkel did these observations of wolves, captive wolves, 10 of them in a really small enclosure. And he really started to lay down these terms, alpha and beta and omega, and that's really where they were all coined from. So the enclosure space where all the research was done was literally in this side. So this is 20 by 10 metres. There's 10 adult wolves in here. In the wild, that's a really large pack, and they probably have a territory of hundreds of miles possibly. Also, it was done in breeding season, and we all know what breeding season is like. There's hormones flying all over the place. So what's happening is you're getting a lot of interaction because adult wolves don't generally live together and they all want that right to breed. So you're going to get a lot of conflict. So what we're going to do is going to illustrate that by the kids from Brookfield School and Castle School. They're going to show us what that's going to look like. So let's release the wolves. And that's where we think the dominance theories come from, but actually it's a rebranding of a much, much older method, which was called the false method, which really started with gun dog training back in the 18 and 1900s. And back in those days, it all very much you had to do, the dog had to do everything that you told it to do. You couldn't let them get away with anything. And all of these things that we now lump into this dominance theory that some people still follow. Things like eating before the dog, not letting the dog walk ahead of you, having to have the dog walk into heel to your side. All of those methods are not what wolves do. It's what this false method told us we had to do. If you look at a wolf pack, it's very much a cooperative group, a family group, and they're all going to be working together. And yes, you've got mum and dad, which used to be called the alphas, they're now called the breeding pair or the parents, and they will guide and coach rather than being dominant. I think we use the word dominant and we think of harsh methods, being very aggressive. So we change that word maybe to say, an animal being quite gregarious animal, for example, you then perceive it to be much more different than if you would have the words of harsh and dominant and this alpha status. So you have to think about the parent wolf being the guide, the coach, rather than being the aggressive top animal that's fought its way to the top. Because although in this study that is actually what happened, because you've had adult wolves living together in a very unnatural situation, in the wild it's just mum, dad and the kids. It's time to really change our thinking. You as a dog owner can stop striving to be the alpha and have a much more balanced, healthy relationship with your dog. The choice is yours how you manage your dog. Just do it with all the right information in front of you. Take a fresh look at all those ideas and challenge what you already know, and your dog is going to really thank you for it.